Alright, we return to Venus' Improbable Dream. It's been quite some days since I last played. I was a little bit busy. As you can see that haven't been uploading daily as usual. So let's go, shall we? We're going to the library with Fujiwara. Haruka. Which pieces do you want to look for then? Feeling a bit foolish, I scrambled to retrieve the list from my bag again, realizing that I should have just kept it out. The names of the pieces and composer fill my vision again, just as perplexing as before. There's Vivaldi one here, Four Seasons Spring. Who is Vivaldi? I don't even know Vivaldi. Haruka expression shift in recognition. Interesting. Ah, that's a really famous one. Oh, sorry about that. Well, now I feel even more stupid for not knowing it. I have never even heard of Vivaldi. The same. Undeterred by my lack of reply, Haruka begins to stroll down the rows of books, looking thoughtful. We should find it down this end. It might be near the bottom. I follow her as she leads me down the shelves in alphabetical order, and her certainty strikes me as unusual. How does she know where everything is? I suppose once you know where A is, you can guess the rest, but still... I don't think I'll ever get used to the sight of her. After perusing the shelf a little longer, I spot the section sorted by the letter V. Crouching down to search for the piece I need. It should be here. I add this as an afterthought, realizing that Haruka probably doesn't realize that I am essentially on the floor. The last thing she needs is for me to trip her up. Alright. She stands behind me while I eye the spines of the book, and thankfully I spy a Pinus score collection that seems to contain several Vivaldi pieces. After flipping it over to read the back, I see that the one I need is in here. Sorry, my mouse is a little bit sensitive, it seems. Got it. So I skip along. I stand up again, watching as Haruka smiles in response. Great, what do you want to try and find next? I consult my list again, and we settle on another piece called Gymnopédie No. 1 by a composer called Sadie, heading back across the room to the right section of the alphabet. As I thumbing the book again in search of it, I realize something that causes me to pause for a moment. It is really nice of Haruka to help me like this, even though she can technically look for the books with me. I take a brief glance over my shoulder at her as she stands there patiently, waiting for me to let her know whether I have found it or not. There is no real reason for her to be here, and yet she seems content to accompany me regardless. It is a really kind gesture, not only because of her disability, but also considering how bad her anxiety can be. Accepting the situation with a hint of gratitude as well as a little jab of guilt, I turn my attention back to the shelf in front of me. Luckily, this piece is in stack 2. That is 2 knocked off the list. Here it is. I think I'll just take these 2 today. Borrowing every piece on the list will probably be too overwhelming for now. I better just stick to a couple until I know them better. Haruka and I make our way up to the front desk where an unfortunately awkward conversation ensues. I have never taken anything out of the library before, so I don't really know how to go about it. Oh my god. Plus, I have never met the librarian before either, so that doesn't help me get my words out any easier. However, we managed to stumble through it, Haruka still waiting quietly by my side as though she has all the time in the world. She does have all the time in the world. Once my books are checked out and stashed into my backpack, the two of us begins to make our way back down to the ground floor of the school. Club activities ended while we were still in the library, so we are free to go home. But do you want to go home? Oh, alright. When we emerge into the late afternoon light, I find myself appreciating the emptiness of the streets. Reflecting how void of people the school had been, it will be a more comfortable walk home. How about Haruka? Haruka and I seems to come to a stop simultaneously, unsure of what to do next. I'm going this way. She gestured behind herself, pointing in the opposite direction from the way I need to go. I guess we live in a different areas of town. I'm in the other way. Alright then. Oh, they are such a sweet children. She nods in acknowledgement and then an awkward silence falls over us as we both clam up somewhat. Having never said goodbye to each other like this in the past, I have just left her in the music room. Recalling how nice she had been earlier by introducing me to the library sheet music section and helping me out even though she didn't need to, I try to put my appreciation into words. My mouth doesn't seem to want to work with me, however. Thanks. Oh, actually did it. Good job, Kakeru. Very articulate. Well, you did it. Really gets the message across. Haruka doesn't seem fazed by my inadequate mumbling though. No problem. So I guess I'll see you tomorrow. Yes you will. Yeah, okay. Seeming satisfied, she starts to turn away from me, signaling that it is time for us both to part ways for today. Bye, Kakeru. Bye, Haruka. Oh, see ya, Haruka. I start striding away down the street, taking a cursory glance back at her. She is walking with as much ease as she had in the corridor earlier. Focusing on the road ahead of me, I take a moment to probably process everything that happened today. I became an official member of the music club. That on its own is astounding and terrifying in equal measure. I'm sure my parents are going to flip when they find out, in a good way of course. Once that was over, I actually attempted to practice my piano skills. Getting some guidance from Kudo-sensei, nerve-wracking, but I guess I'll get used to it the more I do it. It will be the main focus of my free practice time after all. Then Haruka took me to the library and showed me where to find the sheet music I need, going out of her way to help me. That had been unexpected. Even more unexpected, I suddenly realized is that when she asked if she see me tomorrow, I automatically agreed without a second thought. This is not in my nature. Heck, what am I saying? None of this is in my nature. It is strange how meeting up with Haruka in the little practice room is becoming a regular thing, part of the routine of my everyday school life. I almost consider it more integral than the school club session themselves. But I guess that is because I feel slightly more comfortable in that smaller, quiet room with her. Oh. Skip something. Besides, the fact that she can stare ludicrously at my hemangioma goes a long way towards helping me relax around her a little. As I continue along the mostly deserted streets, I contemplate the ethics of the situation. Is it selfish of me to enjoy her blindness that much? It sounds like an awful thing to think, rejoicing that she has what must be a crippling disability just for my own comfort. I don't exactly mean all of that by it, of course, but it is heavily implied, and that makes me feel pretty bad about myself. Oh. The more I think about it, the more I realize that in a way it probably doesn't matter how I see it. Haruka's blind, and me being around or not doesn't change that. I guess it is just a factor of our circumstance, one that benefits me in a certain way. But not because I insist on it, just because it is what it is. That's why I tell myself, at least, as I pick up speed towards my house in an attempt to ignore the guilt that I am starting to feel about it. I close the front door behind me softly, kicking off my shoes as usual. I peer around the corner as I cross the room, wondering where my parents are. I catch sight of my dad sitting on the couch, but mom's nowhere to be seen. Alright, son? Alright. He nods casually at me and I return it without meeting his eyes. I'm wanting to get upstairs and begin my usual post-school routine, but before I can make a move, I hear my mother's voice coming from the kitchen. Is that Kakeru? Yeah, it is. I wait in place, a little disgruntled that my escape attempt has been delayed for now. Mom comes out of the kitchen, a large pair of cooking chopsticks still in her hand. Cooking chopstick? They exist? Holy freak. How do they look and how do you use them? You are a little later today, even with your music club. What have you been up to? Nothing, just being simping to a girl. Her gaze is inquisitive and it caused me to bury my own eyeline into the floor. Went to the library? I feel pretty on the spot. But knowing how much they'll appreciate it, I slide my bag from my shoulder, retrieving the 2 books of sheet music I acquired with Haruka. For the club. I hold them out for them to see and it has the effect I thought it might. Both set of eyebrows raised with interest. You're going to learn this? To play them with the others? Yeah. I can tell from the slightly incredulous tone in her voice that the notion is exciting to her, though she is trying valiantly to hide it. I nod to confirm her assumption and then realize that I should just go ahead and drop the bombshell that the both of them are probably hoping to hear, the thing that I can't believe I'm about to say. I joined the club. Properly. I could have tried to put it more eloquently, but it seems that I don't need to. The pair of them start positively beaming with joy at the lackluster announcement and it makes me cringe even more at the attention. Cringe? Really? Oh, Kakeru, that is wonderful. Yeah, good job. The 2 of them spend another minute fusing over me, which to be honest is mostly just Mom emphasizing how pleased she is, while Dad nods quietly in the background with a grin. It's pretty embarrassing, but as much as I can't wait to get out of their company, there's one thing about it that I appreciate about it. Wait, what? Alright. I thought I'm the one that doing a misread. My parents are smiling about me for the first time in God's know how long. Oh, lovely. By the way, Kakeru, your mother kinda looks hot. Wednesday. We took another science quiz today to demonstrate our progress since the one we had last week. I wasn't too worried about it, being the guy who basically has a textbook attached to his face at all the times during class. It hadn't seemed too difficult to me. My mind wandering to the two sets of sheet music in my bag. I feel as though the upcoming music club session will prove much more of a problem than the science quiz. I've been reading over the scores at home between episodes of homework and gaming for the last 2 days. I started playing through them a little during free club practice yesterday too. However, this doesn't give me any feelings of confidence about my abilities. Since becoming an official member of the music club, I haven't felt any further sense of belonging. The other students still terrify me too much for me to interact with any of them, and the piano stool I occupy doesn't seem any more familiar than it had the first time. It is still a very uncomfortable, intimidating place for me, and I'm really not sure how much I'll be able to get used to it. However, I do my best to crush these thoughts and push open the door. The room is already pretty full. I make my way straight to the piano after giving Kudo-sensei a curt nod as he smiles at me from his desk. Getting out my sheet music, I almost struggle to fit all 3 pieces on the stand, including the photocopied papers that I'd been given on my first day. From the list. Very good. I think we should focus on those pieces from now then, so you can get a proper feel for them with the ensemble. Speaking of which, he directs his attention to the whole room, announcing the start of club activities and brandishing his conductor baton, which yet again I didn't see him pick up. Does he just keep it in his pocket at all times or somewhere else on his person? My demeanor relaxed ever so slightly as I enjoy the amusing image of him walking around school with it constantly up his sleeve. like an ever-prepared classical music wizard. Alright. Sadly, the moment isn't to last as I am rattled from my river by the impending task of trying to perform this piece that I barely know with a groove. Placing my hands haphazardly over the keys, I swallowed as much of my fear as possible and attempt to do what is expected of me as well as I can. And skip it. This isn't good, alright. I'm doing my best to try and keep up with everyone, but these two new pieces are just as difficult for me as the others one had been. I may have been able to study the sheet music, but so far it is not giving me the advantage that I thought it might. It doesn't help me that I don't really know these pieces at all. The Vivaldi one is starting to ring a bell, probably something I've heard once before somewhere, but since I'm struggling to play my parts I can't really figure out how it's supposed to sound. The SETI one, I have no clue. It is slow, so it gives me a few more milliseconds to remember what notes come next, but that's about the extent of what I can gain from it. I'm really not feeling good about myself right now. Alright, let's go back to Vivaldi. I really need you to emphasize that sprightly, spring feeling, not so legato on the cellos, and give it some bounce in that first half, everyone. Alright? This is the hardest one. I grudgingly pull the Vivaldi sheet music back to the front of my stand, taking the few seconds I have to look over the troublesome bars and try to get them reabsorbed into my head. The main section isn't too bad, but there's a bit towards the middle where the focus moves more onto the piano, and I have to play a lead part. My fingers just trip over each other every time I try it. With no choice but to give it another go, I rest my hands on the keys and wait nervously for the cue to play. Kudo-sensei count us in and we begin performing as one unit. However, after the introductory section is over and the twiddly, more flamboyant middle parts come in, the instrument starts to pull away from each other as their owner grows less sure of themselves. A couple of violinists seem to tread on each other's metaphorical feet as they try to enunciate their separate overlapping parts, which then throws me off even further. When I come in with my elaborate part, I'm pretty sure I'm already offbeat from the first note and the fingers on my right hand almost start to cramp up as I try to force them to perform a complex dance across the keys. It's not really even a difficult part, I just can't get my hands to play what my eyes are reading yet. Somehow I refrain from fainting in embarrassment and bumble through the rest of the piece, releasing a ragged breath that I hadn't realized I'd been holding when it finally comes to a close. This is too intense for me. Kudo-sensei looks around at everyone, regarding us with a mixture of dissatisfaction and optimism. A little better on the cellos, the middle section needs to be much more precise, but you can all focus on that during free practice. Think less about what other people are playing and get your own parts really locked in. He cast across the room, looking for the clock. Alright, go ahead and practice. If anyone needs any further guidance, just give me a shout. Okay, let's go to Haruka then. The room burst into a flurry of activity, the large group breaking down into smaller friendship groups, and the two violinists who had been struggling earlier grabbed Kudo-sensei right away, eagerly wanting his help. My eyes move to take in the sheet music again, but I can't summon enough enthusiasm to tear my hand from my lap. I'm not enjoying the music club at all, at least not today. Leaning back on the stool and sighing at the futility of it all, the voice in my head chips in once more with some unhelpful advice. Leave. I mean, I guess I could. Kudo-sensei can exactly tackle me to the ground and chain me to the piano if I tried to just go. Well, who knows, he might do that. It just feels like anything I do today isn't going to work out. I need more time to figure the pieces out, but I'm so frazzled that I don't feel up to practicing in front of everyone. For a moment I glance towards the door, the sight of it making my potential departure even more tempting. However, something triggers on the back of my mind, a memory of something I said yesterday like I have for the last couple of days. Haruka. I'll see you tomorrow, Haruka. I did again. I told her that I'd be here without thinking about it, as if it was as much as a part of my day as brushing my teeth. or doing my homework. Then again, it wasn't exactly as a promise. I don't owe her anything, I could still just leave. No. As much as I want to just hightail it out of here and get back to the comfort of my room, the little conscience I have left inside me prevents me from doing so. It is bad enough that in skipping free practice the most important part of club activities for me. I should at least say hi to Haruka like I said I would. Besides, that little loom of her is much more conducive to calming my racing thoughts down than here. Looking guiltily across at Kudo-sensei, I see that he is still coaching the violinists, his attention fully on them as he leans across the point at something on their music sheet. Seeing that my exit will go unnoticed, I stuck my own books into my bag and stride swiftly across the room, mumbling a silent apology inside my head for ducking out so shamelessly. Hopefully, once I'm away from the noise at least, it will be a bit less stressed out. Knocking on the door first, as is becoming the norm in this situation, I enter slowly. Alright, wait. I have to adjust my chair. Yes, I got a chair. I borrowed it from someone. Yay! In contrast to my mood, which seems to be getting lower by the moment, Haruka greets me with her usual quiet yet somewhat light-hearted hello. How did group practice go today? Oh, Haruka. Bit cupcake, Haruka. Not a subject I particularly fancy talking about right now. Not great. I don't look at her, but I can still sense a slight shift in her expression. That is a shame. What happened? The pieces are hard, I haven't got used to them yet. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Haruka nod in acknowledgement. It must be tough playing with everyone else. Indeed it is. Well, despite not having done it herself, she seems to realize my struggle to keep it with the group. Also, I guess of all people, she be the one to best understand the extra reason why it is difficult for me. It still doesn't stop me feeling sorry for myself, though. Even though I am trying to improve my outlook, it doesn't seem to be working. I guess it's just one of those days. I feel a little guilty realizing that I have been standing in silence for a while, not giving Haruka anything to interact with or reply to. But just as I am trying to come up with something to say, she speaks again. Was it Four Seasons, Spring and Gymnopedia #1 you were playing? The ones we got the other day? Well, yeah, kinda. Why not, catching myself again and cursing my own stupidity internally. I'm glad she can see the way I roll my eyes at myself for the fact that I keep doing this. Yeah? There are small pause before she pipes up again. Oh. I know some of the lead lines for those. We could try playing them together if you want. Yeah, finally. Finally, they're gonna play this piano that I have been looking for a few episodes. Oh my god. Surprised by her sudden offer, I raised my head, looking at her promptly for the first time since I walked in here. She is gazing across the room, seeming both bashful and hopeful as she faces my direction. It is nice of her to offer to help me, but I feel like playing one-on-one with her will be pretty embarrassing. At my lack of reply, she starts to turn red, bailing her hands into little fists. Oh no, poor Haruka. You don't have to. I just thought it might, help a bit. Without the others. She contemplates the floor out of shyness. Though she can see it, it makes me feel bad for potentially making it seem as though I don't want to help her. It's true then that I'm really not in the mood to practice anymore today, but at the same time, well, maybe playing with her might not be so bad. Alright. The other room, there are so many people to judge me for my lackluster performance, especially Kudo-sensei. In here, there's only one. And I'm willing to bet that she wouldn't be too offended by my lack of skill, considering that I wouldn't be ruining anything for her if I messed it up. It's not like she's counting on me to succeed, unlike the others. Taking a breath and trying to keep my mind open, I cave in. Oh yeah, finally. Okay, we can try it. Haruka visibly relaxed at my word, seeming relieved. Alright, which one do you want to do first? Vivaldi? She turns toward her sheet music stand, her right hand wavering slightly in the air until it finds one of the straps of her bag sitting on a nearby chair. Maybe the steady one. Alright, not Vivaldi. Might as well start with the easier piece, Haruka nods, fumbling with her bag for a moment before procuring a rather large folder from it. It looks as though it takes up almost all of the bag space. She flicks through the page until she finds what she wants, pulling out her own sheet music for Gymnopédie number 1 and placing it on the stand. Busying myself with sitting at the piano and attempting to collect my thoughts, I don't bother to even question how a blind person learns and reads music. It's probably too complicated for me to process right now. Reading through the notes, rest and other performance direction once more, I'm filled with similar sense of dread to the one I felt in the other room, although there is less pressure in this scenario. After a minute, I hear Haruka take a deep breath in and out, preparing herself to play the flute. Shall we give it a try? I guess I have nothing to lose. Alright. Yep, he did say alright. We play through the piece together. It is a strange experience going from a rendition by a mini orchestra to just two people. I still understand where we are in the piece though, and Haruka is nice enough to slow the tempo down considerably so that I have more time to think about what I'm doing on the fly. Tension is still sizing up my shoulder as I play, but it's not quite as bad as it had been before. I can get through it without my heart thundering. When the piece comes to an end, I glance at Haruka. She still has her eyes closed, a habit she seemed to have when she plays the flute. After a moment, she opens them again, tilting her head in the direction of the piano. Was that any easier? Yeah, it is, a little. The corners of her mouth turned upward slightly, not quite a smile, but a little more upbeat. I don't mind doing it again or trying the other one. Feeling somewhat pitiful as though she is pandering to me, I agree regardless, figuring that I should make an effort to practice in some way considering that I abandoned my working on my own. The two of us continue to play through the two pieces with the time we have left. The experience is still quite disheartening due to the fact that I am just not confident in my abilities at all. Also, it strikes me that Haruka is probably just as good as most of the other club members, so that sense of inadequacy is still there. However, I blunder through it out of guilt, and Haruka continues to be patient with me, despite how easy the piece must seem to her. When I see that it's almost time to leave, I let her know. And we have one last run through of the piece we are focusing on before packing up our things. I finish putting my sheet music away pretty quickly, and with nothing else to do, I watch Haruka as she closes her bag, detaching the various pieces of her flute and slotting them into their designated parts of the case. Do you feel any better about things now? Indeed. She asked me this as she is still putting the flute away. I didn't want to make her feel as though her assistance was pointless, so I put it a little more optimistically than I feel. A bit. The slower tempo was good, but actually did help somewhat. If only the group were okay with playing everything at the speed of a funeral march. I just don't know the piece well enough yet, I guess. It's still a huge factor. If I already been familiar with them, this will be a lot easier. Clicking the buckles on her flute case shut, Haruka turned back towards me thoughtfully. I know you said you hadn't been to the library much, but have you seen the CD room? Interesting. Another way to practice. Evidently not. Nothing comes to mind. No. It's at the back of the library. It has a stereo system and loads of CD that you can check out like books. Interesting. so we can use that to help improve ourselves. I bet they have those pieces there if you wanted to hear them properly, yeah. I'm quiet for a few moments as I take in the information. This school really does have a lot of resources for musicians, and I hadn't realized the extent of it at all. Naturally, considering how I lived my life before I got involved with this club, it's no wonder I hadn't noticed. I didn't know I might check it out. If I can borrow CDs with the pieces on, enabling me to hear them as they are supposed to be whenever I like, it would certainly help me to figure out my own parts when I play. It is definitely something to think about. As I ponder this, I notice that Haruka looks a little antsy again, the blush creeping back into her cheeks. We could always go together. I love listening to music. Oh. The bell rings out across the school, announcing the end of club time, causing me to pause before I reply. Another invitation. Yeah, this is getting to be something of a regular occurrence. Contemplating it for a moment, I realize that it is probably not a good idea for the two of us to repeatedly skip free practice in order to go to the library. Kudo-sensei had let it slide the first time, probably figuring that it'd be a good thing for me to be introduced to the place where I can borrow the shit music I'll need for the club activities. But I don't think he will appreciate of us swanning off again to listen to music instead of playing it. I tell Haruka as much, and her face drops slightly. Oh. Ah, you are right. I didn't think of that. The two of us linger for a moment, slightly disgruntled that Haruka's good idea can really be put into action. Then, remembering that the bell has already rung, we pack ourselves up and start making our way outside. Going home together. We walk side by side again, a concept slightly easier for me now that I have done it before. I still make sure I'm not too close to Haruka though, just in case. I rack my brain, trying to think of a way to convince Kudo-sensei to excuse us so that we can go to the city room tomorrow. But before I can drum up any solid suggestion, Haruka offers one of her own. Interesting. If it's not any trouble, we could always go to the library at lunch. Interesting. The hairs on the back of my neck momentarily bristle at the thought. The library must be pretty busy during lunchtime, and the mental image of the desk crowded with students make me shudder. Well, that's a good idea, Haruka, but won't it be busy? I've been there before. Hardly anyone uses the CD room anymore. We're around the corner, making our way through the banks of lockers in the entryway and out into the afternoon sun. Alright. I still haven't answered Haruka yet, but my whirling thoughts make it difficult. I do the same thing every day at lunchtime, dash away from class as soon as the bell rings, pull down the school fields toward my favorite bench and enjoy my food in blissful silence. It's my only solace in a routine otherwise fraught with stress. The one place I'm guaranteed to escape to regardless of whatever else happens. If we go to the library, I try to shake off the growing feeling that I'm being threatened. Alright, this is what happens when my daily rituals are thrown off balance or taken away from me. I find myself huffing in an attempt to do some sort of calm breathing and realize that Haruka can probably tell how wound up I am all of a sudden. We come to a stop once we reach the road at the point where we need to go our separate ways. Haruka faces my direction with concern on her face. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked. Dang it, my discomfort must have been clear as day, and now it's made her feel guilty for something she shouldn't. No, it's okay. Straightening up, I begin to reason with myself. Importantly, I'll be able to get audio copies of the pieces of my own by doing this. It might really help me out in my struggle to learn them, as well as this. Haruka had only suggested it because she wanted to lend me a hand. She's not demanding anything from me. She said that no one used the CD room anymore. It might be deserted. As quiet as the library had been when we looked for the sheet music, that wouldn't be so bad. Besides, we don't have to spend the whole lunch hour in there. We could listen to the two pieces, check the city out, then split off to enjoy the rest of our breaks in peace. I should be able to do that, shouldn't I? A good question. Glancing up at her uncomfortable expression, I'm hit with another pang of shame as I see how strongly she thinks she upsets me. Oh, I don't want to make her feel like that. She was kind enough to show me the music section of the library, then practice speech she didn't need to play so that I could get a better feel for them, and now this. The least I could do is be grateful and take her up on it. I think we should go. Alright, it's settled then. Haruka looks up at the sound of my voice, seeming tense, but then her expression changed. Okay, maybe tomorrow when lunch starts. I let my inhibition slide, knowing that I can just enjoy a fully normal lunch period the day after. Alright. Haruka seemed pleased with my answer, her shoulders relaxing. Shall we meet outside the library doors? We can go to the CD room straight away. I'm sure we'll be the only ones in there. Her confidence of the fact calms my nerves a little. Okay, I guess I'll see you then. She nods, looking considerably more cheery than she had before. Hopefully this means that whatever bad feelings I given her have disappeared. Bye, Kekiru. See ya, Haruka. She turns away, heading down the road towards whichever part of town she lives in, and I do the same. As I turn our conversation over in my mind again, I find myself kinda shocked that I actually agreed to buck my usual trends even more than the music club already does. However, I can ignore how considerate Haruka is being, especially with her nerves being as shaky as they must be like mine. That's what made me change my mind. I agree to it now. This CD room had better be good. Alright, I think I have to end this video right here. It's been more than 30 minutes, so see you later, the next part of Venus, an Improbable Dream. Bye bye.